joining us. You're watching the news in Africa and the world. A press release from the presidency of the Republic of Senegal informs that President Macky Sall has quarantined himself as a precaution after coming in contact with someone who tested positive for the novel coronavirus. Although he tested negative for the virus, he will be undergoing a quarantine process of 15 days based on medical recommendations. Earlier, a lawmaker in Parliament announced she had tested positive for the virus. She called on civilians to take essential personal measures such as maintaining good hygiene, social distancing, and wearing of face masks to stem the spread of contamination. As votes continue underway in Malawi's presidential election rerun, the Electoral Commission has appealed for peace and calm after President Peter Mutharika's victory was overturned. MEC President Chifodo Kashale made the appeal at a press conference in Blantyre. Malawi Human Rights Commission chair on his part urged all the candidates and parties to advocate for peace and call on their supporters to do the same, whether they win or lose. He insisted the Malawi Electoral Commission has all in place to handle complaints and call on potential plaintiffs to use it for the welfare of the nation. 3 candidates are in the running for the presidential election: the outgoing Peter Mutharika, the leader of the opposition Lazarus Chakwera, and Peter Kuwani. Victory in the rerun will be determined by whoever amasses more than 50% of the votes, a new threshold set by the top court. After 3 days of hearing in the Laurent Gbagbo and Charles Blé Goudé case, the judges of the International Criminal Court Appeal Chamber have stated their deliberations. Helen Brady, the deputy prosecutor, considered that the gravity of the fact and the status of the suspects required that justice be done. She added that the prosecution would open a new case if the judges agreed not to validate the trial brought against the former Ivorian president and his chief of staff for crimes against humanity during the post-election crisis of 2010-2011. The prosecution defended its request to set aside their acquittals by denouncing procedural flaws. Judges will have to deliberate on a key issue: whether the errors of law allegedly committed by the trial chamber are such that they could have changed the findings that of acquitting. And out of Africa, investigators have reopened a conflict of interest concerning President Emmanuel Macron's chief of staff, Alexis Kohler, over his links to Swiss-Italian shipping giant, the MSC. An initial criminal investigation by the Economic Crimes Prosecutor's Office was dropped in August last year, prompting campaign groups to file a civil complaint. Sources confirmed on Monday that the investigating magistrate agreed to act on the complaints of Anticor. As a senior civil servant at the Finance Ministry at the time, Kohler was accused of concealing his family links with the managers of the Swiss-Italian shipping company. The company receives public funds, and rumor had it that Kohler could have played a part in the dishing out of that money. Late on Wednesday, the presidency described the reopening as an automatic consequence of the Anticor complaints being filed, saying the judges will consider the case with full independence. The allegations add to the list of legal investigations into Macron's allies, including Richard Ferrand, who stepped down as housing minister, now the Speaker of Parliament, because of an investigation into a property deal. Russians this Thursday will begin casting their ballots in a 7-day vote on sweeping reforms that could clear the way for President Vladimir Putin to remain in power until 2036. Election officials say they are opening polls ahead of the official July 1 vote to avoid overcrowding that could spread coronavirus infections. Masks and disinfectant gels are being made available to 110 million voters across 10 time zones. The vote was initially scheduled for April 22, but the Kremlin postponed the polls as infection increased. The vote is taking place despite concerns from the opposition over the safety of the people voting amid the COVID-19 pandemic, worries over voter fraud, and criticism that Putin, aged 67, has already spent too long in power. Critics have called it a constitutional coup. A watershed moment that will constitute a most serious violation of international law. That is how the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has described Israel's plan to annex parts of the occupied West Bank and the Jordan Valley. Addressing a virtual meeting of the Security Council on Wednesday, Guterres re-echoed a call for Israel to drop its United States-backed plans, which could be put in motion as soon as next week. The UN chief's call was rubber-stamped by other world leaders like the Arab League, which said Israel's action may trigger a major escalation of conflict in the region. The foreign minister has called on the international community to impose sanctions against Israel to deter its plans. Those were the essentials of the news in Africa and the world. Thanks for watching. Until we meet again, do take care and keep watching DBS Television.